Have you ever heard of the little indie game known as Super Smash Brothers? Thank you to our fellow patrons Red Wolf 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, and Sean. And another thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. And another very big thank you to our $10 patron, Robbie Uchiha. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. And another very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. Now, before this breakdown / discussion on why Yuta Okkotsu he needs to be rebalanced, essentially. Please remember to leave your own thoughts on Yuta's balancing in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification so also miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and here we are to talk about Yuta Okkotsu and how he kind of got hit a little bit too hard by the balance patch that came out in JJK. He was much more broken in JJK 0. I understand once you transfer mangas and transfer main characters, you gotta nerf him, but the nerf was too crazy. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I have a question for you. I have a legitimate question for you. If you had a character who was insanely powerful, like legitimately insanely powerful, top of the line, crazy, 50 different hexes, all the abilities under the sun, they're wild, they're different, they're absolutely insane, where would you put that character? Like, hypothetically, if you were doing a tier list or a ranking, if you had a character that was just so buku bonkers in like every single stat, power, speed, durability, hexes, knowledge, IQ, battle IQ, all that, where would you put that character? Presumably, I'm not sure, I don't know, but at least if you were to ask me that question, I would put that character casually in top 1. Like, if they have literally just some of the best stats, or say there are other characters of their ilk, easily like a top 5 character. Like, there's no way someone has like nearly maxed out stats and everything, they're not like a top 5 character. What I'm describing to you is Yuta Okkotsu in volume 0 of Jujutsu Kaisen. Because bro literally had everything. He had the power, he had the speed, he had the durability, he had the IQ, he had the battle IQ, he had the hexes, he had everything. He was cooking in volume 0, like to the ultimate degree. Bro was chefing it up. Bro pulled up on another special grade with like infinite curses and still managed to pull out a dub, even against the maximum Uzumaki. Sure, I understand, Ghetto fans, his heart was not in it, but like still, even the fact that, at that time, a first year was able to pull up and do that to special grade Suguru Geto is absolutely biggity bonkers. Yes, I know Kenjaku fans, I know he said Geto would have won, and I even agree with that, but still, Yuta going that crazy in his first real battle against like an actual thing with thoughts, like not just random curses, but actual warrior with like battle IQ and stuff like that, that's pretty bonkers. And I think GEGE realized that. I was like, whoa, wait a second. I may have made him just a little bit too strong. Hold on. Let me nerf bro. But I think he hit Yuta with a nerf hammer that's way too hard. So let's flash back to like a second ago where I asked you, where would you put that character that basically had like maxed out stats? Max hacks, max power, max speed, max abilities, all that. Where would you put them if they were just that? Like, legitimately, they just existed at, like, the peak or near peak of their verse. You'd put them pretty darn high, right? Like, at least top 1, maybe top 3, top 5. Now, imagine you took that exact same character and slapped a 5-minute timer on it. Like, how would you rate him then? Where would you put that character then, knowing that they can only use their max stats, their max abilities, their full list of abilities for only 5 minutes? How would you rate that character then? Because let me tell you, that character is gonna drop off just a little bit, and by a little bit I mean like a lot. Like arguably now, I'm pretty confident, and this is going to sound bonkers, I'm pretty confident in stating that Yuta is in the top 5 character in the verse. Of course, like, that's me kind of memeing, but not necessarily memeing. Like, we have Gojo, we have Sukuna, we have Kenjaku, we have Kashimo, and we have Hikari. I'm taking the Yuta statement. And even then, if that's not enough for you, Yuki should just verbatim be stronger by having direct scaling to Kenjaku. And on top of that, you have Hirozu, who has direct scaling to 15 Finger Sukuna, while 15 Finger Sukuna rocked Ryu, who Yuta was struggling with. All right. That's a solid 5 characters, maybe 7. Yuta's still top 10. Don't get me wrong. He's not booted out of the top 10, even in my list. But like, still, if he had unlimited access, he'd be a whole lot better. And notably, this is the thing where I don't necessarily get the balancing, right? Like, obviously, I understand Yuta being that powerful. It would make you ask a lot more questions and why he doesn't handle a lot more problems within the verse. But we know, just stat-wise, he's not highly impressive. His output, according to Ryu, is decent enough. It's about average. Not anything too crazy, but not anything too fodder. It's not horrible, but it's not the greatest. We know his speed, while pretty impressive, you can make pretty consistent arguments that, you know, he may not really be uber juper duper fast. Like, he may not be, if you take the whole Naobito statement and stuff like that, and you include Yuta as a sorcerer post his training, then hypothetically he's not even faster than Naobito, because Naobito's the second fastest sorcerer, and then Naoi is up there too. You could make arguments for that. And on top of that, while his hacks are good, it's not limitless good. It's not 10 shadows good. It's not curse manipulation good. Heck, it's not even Bombaye good. Like, there's nothing absolutely crazy about Yuta. So I'm kind of wondering why, like, the ban hammer or like the Nerf hammer was so hard, so heavy. Because 5 minutes is wild. Like, to put it into perspective, put it in real perspective with you. Which battles in JJK do you really think only lasted 5 minutes? Like, level with me real quick. What battles do you really think lasted 5 minutes? Let's talk about big, popular, recent battles. I don't think Kashimo versus Hikari lasted 5 minutes. In fact, I can tell you it didn't. It at least lasted like 8 minutes and 22 seconds at a bare minimum. It lasted more than that, but that's 8 minutes and 22 seconds. Yuta is not lasting that long. He only got 5 minutes on him. That's a little bit whack. Who else had a recent battle that's longer than 5 minutes? Both Higuruma and Itadori alongside Megami and Reggie both had battles that probably lasted just a teeny tiny bit more than 5 minutes. Like, that's a little bit crazy. And like, it's not out of GEGE's wheelhouse to make extremely powerful characters have little to no cooldown on their abilities. Like, Yuta's cooldown seems to be a whole day. Like, we have never seen bro like pop the ring on, pop it right back off, and put it right back on and get the Rika connection back. We have never seen bro do that. Admittedly, the only time we would have seen bro do that, the battle was almost over anyway, and he literally had a plan to win the fight. But still, regardless, I don't think he has like a 5 second, 6 second, 1 minute cooldown. I think bro literally just gets it once a day. And there are people in the verse with just as good, if not better, abilities than Yuta that have little to no cooldown. What is the cooldown on the Limitless technique? What is the cooldown on that? I have no clue, but I can tell you it's way more broken than Mimicry or anything that Yuta gets access to. What's the cooldown on Cleave and Dismantle? Not much. Can't tell you anything about that, but I bet it is less cooldown than whatever Yuta has to go through to access Mimicry. What is the cooldown on the 10 Shadows technique? Specifically Maharaga, right? Because you can argue the rest of the 10 Shadows technique isn't necessarily that broken. Like, sure, they're strong, but the main thing is Maharaga. What's the cooldown on Maharaga? I feel like it's a negative 5 seconds. Like, legitimately, you don't have any cooldown on that. So you have Curse Spirit Manipulation. What's the cooldown on Curse Spirit Manipulation? There literally is none. Like, we've seen Kenjaku and Geto both just like keep dropping curses like it's a Saturday afternoon. Like, legitimately, these characters are just casually dropping their abilities left and right. But you're telling me Yuta Okkotsu, the man who's supposed to surpass Satoru Gojo, is so unbelievably busted and broken that no, we have to nerf him. Like, of all the characters that made the leap from JJK0 over to mainstay JJK, why did Yuta get the hardest nerf? Gojo didn't get any nerfs. Kenjaku, through possessing Suguru's body, didn't get any nerfs. Maki only got buffs. Panda sucks. Inumaki lost an arm. But like, legitimately, why did Yuta get hit so hard? Like, so hard. Like, you have characters out here with admittedly less powerful abilities, but you have a character like Hikari who can just spam domain, spam their technique. You have characters like Kashimo who have extremely broken abilities without even using a technique. The lightning bolt is absolutely cracked. An undodgeable, can't miss attack outside of a domain is broken, and all it takes is a little bit of patty cake and bada bing bada boom. You're losing your torso, your arm, your dome piece. That's crazy. But no, Yuta, he can copy a little this, he can copy a little that. That's about it. What's the cooldown on Sky Manipulation for Uro? None. She only gets the post-domain fatigue that everybody gets. And that's not necessarily good enough considering how broken sky manipulation is. You get flight, you get the ability to shatter the sky on top of people, redirecting attacks, pulling away at attacks, and not breaking limbs, but at least redirecting them. Like, sky manipulation is kind of cracked. And Yuta, for one reason or another, just doesn't get access to his full kit except for 5 minutes. Like, that, it just sounds a little bit unfair. Like, I get it, you can't, but no, I don't really get it, because here's the thing, right? Let's say we were to, like, truly remove, like, just remove the limiter. Let's say the 5 minutes, crack that open, and now Yuta has unlimited access to Rika, and unlimited access to his curse technique. He's still not the most broken character in the verse, because we don't know if he can copy Limitless. If he can copy Limitless and he can use that freely, then okay, then maybe he's the most broken character in the verse. But we still don't know if he can, and I doubt he can, because he never used it. Like, if he could have just whipped out the Infinity, even if only for a short period, he would have done it against Ryu and Uro, because that would definitely help in clapping those two way easier. But he didn't, so I highly doubt he can use Limitless. So just looking at his current kit, let's take the limiter off his current kit. How broken does Yuta get? Fully manifested Rika? I'll agree. That's relatively broken, right? Like, that's a extremely powerful Shikigami / curse / whatever it is. It's super duper powerful, super duper strong, able to contest directly with Ryu. Obviously, the guy with the highest curse energy output in the whole verse. It's literally one of the 3 things that actually damages Ryu. The other 2 things being Ryu's own attacks and Thin Ice Missile, which is like a straight up Duraneg technique that like reaches through your organs and shatters the sky and not really you. So like, Ryu, extremely bulky. Ryu is one of 3 things, or no, Ryu only gets damaged by 3 things, and Rika's one of them. So that is pretty broken, but we know Rika's not the strongest thing in the verse. We know that for a fact. Ryu is still able to eat her hits. Ryu is still able to throw hands with it. And Sukuna, one-shot Ryu. 15 fingers Sukuna. Not even full power Sukuna. So Ryu, while he is kind of Himothy, he ain't that Himothy. So Rika is thusly not that Herothy, or whatever that thing is. Because is it still a her? Because, like, her soul's gone, so I'm not sure. I mean, I guess. But regardless, Rika's not necessarily that broken. Curse speech, if you know it's coming, which admittedly is the thing with Yuta, you don't always know it's coming. Ask Uro. When you don't know it's coming, curse speech can be very effective. But, like, once he uses it on you once, or if you just have, like, enough curse energy to bulk it, curse speech doesn't necessarily do that much. You can eat that. Even back when it was unlimited and Yuta Okkotsu hit Suguru Geto with that, hey yo, get up out of here. Suguru Geto got up out of here. But he was crushed and then he was like just fine, and not a page later. So curse speech, even unlimited, isn't necessarily that broken, especially if you know it's coming and you just reinforce your ears. Bada bing, bada boom. You're all good. You're all well set. You're all set in stone and you don't have to worry about it. And if you just have like buku amounts of cursed energy, if you're like a Satoru Gojo, a Sakuna, or heck, a Jackpot Akari, cursed speech may just not even work on you because you just have so much cursed energy overflowing from you. So it may not even be that effective, because we know that if someone has a lot of cursed energy, got a lot of that cursed juice, then bada bing, bada boom, they're able to pretty much ignore the effects of cursed speech for the most part. So ultimately, that's not even that broken. It's not the most cracked thing in the universe. It could be extremely cracked, but we've seen that GEGE has already balanced cursed speech itself, so it doesn't necessarily make Yuta all too broken. Drew Shikigami technique, the only application we've seen for it is that, or at least by Yuta. By Yuta is the main thing here, because we know he has that, like Drew himself has that massive Shikigami, and we know that the orbiting Shikigami constitute a domain, which means it can shut down techniques, which is nice, but we never see Yuta use that in like the ultimate optimal way. Like, notably, he used it a little bit against Uro to shut down her technique, but then he never used it again, for no reason other than the fact that he just didn't. He didn't use it on Ryu. We haven't seen him fight ever since that fight, so we don't know what else it can do. But even then, considering the Shikigami seem to be tiny and can be destroyed, I don't think giving Yuta infinite access to that's going to suddenly snap him. Like, sure, maybe if he were to use it like optimally, but usually characters in fiction never use their abilities optimally, or else the plot would be a whole lot better. So I don't think Drew Shikigami technique snaps Yuta at all or anything. He doesn't get anything too fancy from that. Another ability he has is sky manipulation, and don't get me wrong, sky manipulation is super ooper juper broken, and if Yuta just started flying around like Gojo did after he started to fight Toji, then maybe that'd be a little concerning. And obviously he's going to be able to throw attacks back at you, he's going to be able to run at you and Thin Ice Missile your guts open. That's going to be crazy. But even then, look at Uro. Uro is not the most broken thing out there. Uro does not have any sort of like crazy out there things other than fighting Yuta and Ryu. So like, she's fighting fodder at this point. Like, at least fodder's like the deities of the verse. I know, Ryu isn't fodder, Uro isn't fodder, Yuta isn't fodder, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. 15 Finger Sukuna absolutely one-shotting Ryu is wild. Like, that's actually wild. So, I don't know. Kind of in a rough spot. So, we know that even, like, Thin Ice Missile and Sky Manipulation and Flight, it's not too broken. It's not too crazy. It's not like we remove the limiter on that and suddenly Yuta Okkotsu is now the most broken character in the verse. Like, it's not anything crazy like that either. So I think you could give him unlimited access to that and it'd still be fine. And then that's it. Like, think about it. What other techniques has Yuta shown access to? Notably, there are a bunch of techniques he hypothetically should have. Like, he should have Ryu's Cursed Energy Discharge technique now. He should. He fully understands it. If you believe the eating thing is a prerequisite, even though I don't think it is, I guess then he wouldn't have it, but he should have that. But even that highest output stuff can be weaved, it can be dodged. So even if you were to hypothetically give Yuta Okkotsu that, it's not going to make him the most broken because he's not going to land that immediately. Even if he can use the raw output of Ryu, take that genetic trait, take his curse technique, it's still not going to do all too much. His granite blasts aren't automatic GGs or win cons. Look at how Yuta beat Ryu. Like, legitimately, so we know that doesn't make him too broken. And what else has he seen? Like, he hasn't seen the 10 Shadows technique, so he's not getting anything from that, I don't think. I don't think he's seen the 10 Shadows technique. What's he going to do? Unless he can pop Hakari's domain, there's no reason that him hypothetically having that by seeing him fight in the past is going to be too broken. Tool manipulation isn't that broken. Maybe Boogie Woogie? Boogie Woogie, if he's seen that before, because we know, I do believe that Todo encountered Yuta. I forget what the exact statement is, but I do believe those two have in fact crossed paths. So maybe if he had Boogie Woogie, he'd be a little bit broken, because then he could start like swapping places with Rika and like start really messing with his opponent, because he's always running a 2v2. But still, a 2v1. But regardless of that, I still don't think it's too broken. I don't think Boogie Woogie itself is all too broken. Once you get used to it, once you start to figure it out, and you are able to like read the tells of when your opponent's about to teleport or not, you can work around Boogie Woogie. That's not too broken, at least not in my opinion. And then what else has he seen? Like, heck, creation itself would burn through a whole bunch of his cursed energy if he could even use it that optimally. Like, notably, we don't know if he's seen creation for one. We don't know if Mai used it against him in the Kyoto Goodwill event the previous year. And we also don't know if he could even use it to like properly create things. Like, he's not going to suddenly pop out a soul liberation blade. That's just not going to happen. He's not going to suddenly pop out a inverted spear of heaven, as far as I can figure out. I don't think he's even seen that. He doesn't know how to do that. So I don't think him having creation would be too broken. Tool manipulation wouldn't be too broken. Nothing that the man has seen has snapped him. It'd be one thing. Like, I would get balancing Yuta Okkotsu if he like started spamming her spirit manipulation, was essentially a knockoff kenjaku. If he hypothetically had seen Mahito's technique or Jogo's technique or Hanami's technique or Dagon's technique, if he was really pulling up with like these insane next level, like, I'm gonna drop a meteor on your dome piece and then I'm going to transfigure your soul, like if he had stuff like that, then I understand, whoa, okay, we gotta limit bro to 5 minutes, because any of those techniques in the right hands, and Yuta Okkotsu's hands, would be pretty bonkers because of the amount of cursed energy he has and how much you could just spam him. Like, he could probably drop like 3 maximum meteors on people, especially if he's hooked up with Rika, who's constantly feeding him that cursed Za. But without that, Yuta's kit, while being very powerful and very hefty, it's not 5 minute worthy. It just isn't. Like, I'm sorry. It's not so broken that it overrides the fact that there are other more broken characters who have no cooldown or no limiters on them. I'm sorry. It just doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't think Yuta needed that heavy of a ban hammer or that heavy of a nerf hammer slammed on his dome piece. Because it's not like Yuta was going to do, like, say, once again, hypothetically, if we were to remove the limiter, it's not like Yuta's stats suddenly get a massive buff. Like, it's not like his stats suddenly go through the roof. Bro still isn't realistically comparable to 15 Finger Sukuna if we're looking at it like we're looking at it with how Sukuna dealt with Ryu. That's not the case. We're looking at Yuta versus Kenjaku. It seems like Kenjaku still has the upper hand because he would still have a bunch more curse techniques and curse spirits all at his disposal, all with various effects, hacks, and abilities that Yuta still wouldn't have access to. On top of the fact that you could argue Kenjaku low-key scales higher, or would be able to deal with someone stronger than Yuta if you want to take Yuki being stronger than Yuta at face value with the Bombaye stuff, which is also crazy. Once again, I don't see Yuta face tanking a black hole, but Kenny did that like it was breakfast. So I think giving Yuta unlimited access wouldn't actually be too crazy. But obviously, right? I was talking about rebalancing. Like, rebalancing Yuta. We can't, like, it's kind of like Dragon Ball FighterZ. even if Arxis will like go and nerf a character, they will never restore a character to where they were pre-nerf, because that's like essentially saying I was wrong. I made a mistake. No creator's gonna realistically do that, or at least no like creator of any sort of sizable IP. It's why Super Saiyan Goku in Fighters does not have his original 2M. He has a 2M that's better than his broken leg, but the leg still has a fracture in there too. You're never going to get the original 2M back. You're never going to get the original Goku Black stuff back. You're never going to get a lot of original stuff back in Fighters. I think that's the same thing with JJK. I never see GEGE truly like opening the box and giving us JJK Volume 0, Rika, and Yuta. That's never going to happen. But note what I did mention way back in time at the intro of the video. Have you ever heard of this little indie game called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? There's a certain character within Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that I like to call too much range, too much power, and that's Shulk. Now, notably, I have one friend who plays Shulk. They are very good at Shulk. They know exactly how to range me out. They know exactly how to switch between the certain thing that we're going to talk about that I think Yuta should have access to in order to buff him, but not give him his original stats. And that is the Monado arts. Notably, the way the Monado arts work in Smash Bros. Is that you have access to 5 things. 5 separate things all at the same time. And those things are Smash, Buster, Speed, Jump, and something else. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. Okay, so he has Smash, Buster, Shield, Speed, and Jump. Those are the 5 Monado arcs he has access to. And this is kind of similar to Yuta Okkotsu. There's base Yuta, who's kind of just base Yuta, and then he can turn on the ring or put on the ring and get the amps for 5 minutes. But the way that I would rebalance Yuta to make him more viable and give him better access to his stuff is make all the curse techniques he has like the Monado arts. So for example, if you are playing Smash against a Shulk and they are at super high percent, what they'll usually do is go into shield and they'll just sit there and tank you. Like they'll just sit there and tank you for a while or get out of the combos, and they'll do stuff like that, and it's super annoying. Bada bing, bada boom, you're stuck out of luck when you're dealing with a Shulk who's doing that. But that shield timer, just like Yuta's 5-minute timer, is limited. It can be stopped. It can be put on hold. And once he uses it or clicks out of it, then bada bing, bada boom, it's locked off for a bit, and it needs to regen. And then you can pick any of the other Monado arts that he has access to. I think Yuta should have something like that. Instead of giving a 5-minute cooldown timer to everything, to Rika, to the cursed tools that he has access to all the different techniques he has access to mimicry. Instead of giving him a 5-minute timer for all of it, each one of those individual things should have a 5-minute timer on it. So Yuta, in reality, has access to like, what? Fully manifested Rika, Rika's cursed tools, Rika's supply of cursed energy, cursed spirit manipulation. We don't know if he has that, but cursed speech, sky manipulation, Drew Shikigami's technique. Is that 6? I think that's 6. Drew Shikigami's technique, sky manipulation, cursed speech. Those are the 3 he does have. We know for a fact he has those. And then fully manifested Rika, Rika's tools, and Rika's supply of cursed energy. He should be able to toggle between 6 options. 6 options to choose whether or not he has. So then instead of 5 minutes of his abilities, he actually in reality has 30, though his opponent wouldn't be able to tell that. And we already know for a fact that Rika can switch between manifested and unmanifested on the dime. Like that can just happen. She can just be manifested 1 second. This 5-minute timer runs out. She can be in her unfully manifested form just like that. So it wouldn't even be too crazy for him to be able to switch between those forms like that on a dime. Essentially, Yuta should have the ability to just toggle on any of those at once. And that would be how I rebalance Yuta. Because the 5-minute timer on all that at once, it's just not like that. I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. It's so hard for Yuta to be at full power. Like, not having access to a cursed technique is crazy. Like, not having access to your main ability for majority of the day. What percentage of the day is 5 minutes? Hold on, let me check. You know, I'll even be generous. I'll say 12 hours. Let's say Yuta's up 12 hours a day. How much of a percentage is that? Let me double check. Now, I may have done my math wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comment section down below. But I do believe that 5 minutes of a 12-hour day is about 0.69%. Yuta has access to his full abilities for 0.69% of the day. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. What if Yuta needs to run a gauntlet? He can't. He literally can't. Like, at least if it's a 1-day gauntlet, he can't run it. You'd have to refresh his abilities every single time. Because if he needs to use the 5 minutes against one opponent, he could never use it against the next. And that's a little bit too wild. However, if you were to retool him, so the 5 minutes is in accordance to each technique, and it's kind of like a stamina bar for the day, essentially, he could toggle between one, toggle to another, toggle to another, toggle to another. So say in one moment, he needs to throw back an attack at somebody. So he toggles on sky manipulation, floats into the air, grabs a beam or grabs an attack, spins it around, and throws it back at his opponent. But then he would like to shut down his opponent's technique, so then he toggles off of sky manipulation, drops from the sky, yanks out the hair, throws a Shikigami at somebody. The Shikigami neutralizes the technique, so now he wants a cursed tool so he can do some damage. The cursed tool, admittedly this one's a little bit rough because like the cursed tools will really have to like materialize on him, so that'd be like a whole separate technique, but still, we can make it work. We can make it work. And then bada bing, bada boom, he comes out with the gauntlet and he slams them. But then he realizes that, they're slammed. Let me see if I can catch up to him real quick or at least pause him in air. Then he switches, toggles off the cursed tool. The cursed tool vanishes. The cursed speech marks appear on his mouth. Bada bing, bada boom. Stop! And then they stop and midair. And then he needs to wombo combo them. So he immediately switches off from cursed speech and starts wombo comboing with Rika. Full power Rika. Starts swinging, swinging, and swinging. But obviously all this cursed technique usage is burning through his cursed energy supply like crazy. So then bada bing bada boom, he toggles to Rika's cursed energy supply, re-ups himself, and then starts throwing hands all over again. And he could just keep randomizing the cycle, keep throwing it at you in completely different ways. So essentially you still get the balancing. These abilities can still not be used at once. He's not going to be able to curse speech you as he's sky manipulating you. He's not going to be able to jump you with Rika as he's using a curse tool. Like, he only gets one at a time, which is still a fat, hefty nerf. Back in JJK0, he could curse speech you as he was using Rika. He just never did. For some reason, he never did. But he had fully manifested Rika with him, and he had the cursed speech microphone at the same time. He could do it. He could double down and hit you with both at the same time. He could start hitting you with a cursed tool and hitting you with Rika at the same time. He had Rika constantly topping off his cursed energy at the same time. But then, giving him this toggle system, it works. And here's the thing, right? I wouldn't want it to work exactly like the toggle system within Smash, because if you like quickly spam through all 5 Monado arts, you're going to be locked out of Monado arts. Like, that's just how it is. If you toggle on all of them and try to toggle to another, then you lost the current Monado art, and then now you're just regular Shulk. The regular Shulk is fine enough, but it's not like, still not too crazy. What makes Shulk crazy is the Monado art, so you don't want to take those 100% away from him. So I would say for Yuta, each one is on a 5-minute cooldown timer for the day, but at any moment he can toggle between them, and he needs to like keep track in his head, kind of like an energy meter, how much of a certain technique or a certain portion of his skills he has access to. So say he feels like he really needs to jump somebody, like he needs full power Rika to properly jump somebody, he can just sit in full power Rika. Like, he can drain that energy meter all the way down to like 2%, and then bada bing bada boom, once it runs out and he uses all of Rika, that 5 minutes of the day, he can never fully manifest Rika for the rest of that day. Like, that's just it. He's out of it. But hypothetically, he could still tap into Rika's cursed energy supply if he needs to re-up himself, so he could still do that. But once again, it's still limited. So if he toggles Rika on, if Rika's constantly filling him up for like 5 minutes straight and he's just fisticuffing somebody, those 5 minutes are up, boom, Rika's locked off. Her cursed energy supply is locked off for the day, and he's locked off fully manifested Rika. So now he's just running with techniques. So he still is nerfed. He still is insanely nerfed. I bet there are going to be battles, if there haven't been already, battles in JJK that last more than 30 minutes. But now that you've given Yuta like a way to work around the 5-minute time limit, you've given him the ability to swap between techniques. It not only still keeps Yuta nerfed compared to his Volume 0 self, which is seemingly the intent behind GEGE. I have no earthly idea why else he would slap a 5-minute timer on Yuta if the explicit narrative intent wasn't just to nerf bro. So we're still keeping him nerfed, we're still weakening him from his original counterpart in JJK0, but he's still viable for more than 0.69% of the day. Like, now guess what? He is now properly viable for 4% of the day, 4.167% of the day. That's how long he's viable for now, when he's toggling between it. And that could also add a new layer to battles. Like, that's the thing. The one issue I have with Yuta as he is now is that he can still toggle between everything. He can still like jump you with cursed speech and stuff like that. He can still do fancy stuff, but it's like, a little less interesting. You could make the battles even more interesting, because then you could have his opponent figure it out. Like, say he's fighting someone like Kashima with high battle IQ for some reason, or he's fighting Kenjaku, and Kenjaku's realizing, okay, wait a minute. There's never two at once. It's either cursed speech or sky manipulation, or it's either Rika fully manifested or Rika giving him cursed energy. Like, there's one or the other. You can have his opponent try to work around that, or start to spam down, wear down the options, or have Yuta consistently thinking on a higher dimensional plane, playing 5D chess with himself and his opponent, trying to be like, okay, so I have like 2 seconds left. I'm gonna need a re-up from Rika in like 5 minutes if I keep using sky manipulation like this, and if I keep throwing out cursed speech at random like I am right now. Okay, I'm gonna need that re-up. Let me save it. Okay, no, let me hop into this one. Okay, let me see if I can neutralize the technique real quick. I'm close. Let me pull some hair out. Bada bing, bada boom. And like, you could even add mix-ups and layers and fake-outs to it. Like, say he's fighting somebody and he's like, okay, they know I have sky manipulation now. I'm just gonna jump, and he jumps. So they're like, okay, he's about to use sky manipulation to start to fly away and gain some distance. But in reality, he's fully manifested Rika right behind you, and he's about to like leap in and wombo combo you. And or he's in the midst of using sky manipulation, and you see the cursed speech marks start to form. But in reality, he's dropping hair to the ground and is about to summon some Shikigami on you to neutralize your technique by constituting a domain. He's gonna like consistently just be randomizing it, because then that makes it even more crazy. Because sure, once again, 5 minutes still isn't a long enough time, but 10 seconds of sky manipulation, 10 seconds of cursed speech, 10 seconds of anything else, that could be crazy. That could add mix-ups and layers to a battle, in versus just like, oh, I have 5 minutes of this. Bada bing, bada boom. At least that's what I think. I think that would be a good way to rebalance Yuta, but like make him a bit more viable in certain combat scenarios. Because 5 minutes is crazy. 0.69% of the day being viable is crazy. Just being a cursed energy tank for the rest of the day just ain't it, bro. It's just not it. Yuta, I need you to level up just a teeny tiny bit. However, that's what I think. That would be my main way for balancing Yuta. But what would you guys think? Do you think Yuta needs any extra balancing, or do you think Yuta needs to be nerfed more, needs to get hit with an even heavier nerf hammer, or do you think that GEGE should let up a little bit? And if so, how would you let Yuta up? Do you think my idea is good? Do you have your own ideas? Are there any other video game references you could somehow work into a rebalance of Yuta? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that nobody is supposed to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon below here you can support me for as low as one a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you so much for watching once again, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Zach with a pencil, writing off.